Have you ever stared at your phone scrolling through an endless feed of faces, places, and opinions and felt an overwhelming sense of exhaustion? It is not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. It is a deep cognitive fatigue, a heaviness that settles behind your eyes and at the base of your neck. You might have found yourself mindlessly opening an app, closing it, and then opening it again 3 seconds later, driven by a compulsion you don't even enjoy. You might have thought about deleting the apps entirely. Maybe you actually did. And if you did, you probably noticed something strange in those first few days, the silence. At first, it feels isolating. It feels like you have been left behind, but very quickly that isolation turns into an unexpected, profound sense of peace. You realize that you were not just carrying your own life, you were carrying the emotional weight of thousands of other people. In a world where everyone is constantly broadcasting their lives, choosing to step away from social media can look like rebellion. People might ask if you are okay or if you are trying to hide something. Society has slowly equated being online with being alive, being relevant, and being connected. The implicit rule of the modern age is that if you do not post, you do not exist. But here is the truth. If you have walked away from the digital noise, or if you are desperately wanting to, you are not antisocial. You are not broken. You are simply someone who has realized that your mental bandwidth is precious and you are fiercely protecting it. For highly sensitive people, introverts, and those who feel things deeply, social media is not just a tool. It is an uninvited crowd standing in the middle of your living room demanding your attention at all hours of the day. Your mind adapted to process information deeply. It looks for meaning, for nuance, for connection. When you walk into a physical room, you automatically read the emotional temperature. You notice who is tense, who is happy, who is uncomfortable. Now imagine taking that highly attuned, sensitive nervous system and plunging it into an infinite scroll of global information. Social media platforms are not designed for deep processing. They are engineered for volume and velocity. They operate on psychological principles designed to keep you scrolling like the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect is our brain's tendency to remember unfinished tasks or interrupted narratives. When you scroll through a feed, you are absorbing hundreds of fragmented stories, political opinions, and emotional states. A friend's engagement, a stranger's tragedy, a celebrity scandal, an advertisement, all within 10 seconds. Your brain, especially if you are highly sensitive, tries to process all of them. It tries to finish the narratives. And it cannot. This leaves you in a constant state of unresolved cognitive tension. Your brain is trying to close hundreds of tabs that you opened with a single flick of your thumb. Think about the physical reaction in your body when you open an app. The slight tightening in your chest, the shallow breathing, the tension in your jaw. This is your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, reacting to the sheer volume of social data. Human beings evolved to manage relationships in small, tight-knit tribes. We evolved to care about the opinions of maybe 50 to 100 people whose survival was directly tied to ours. We did not evolve to carry the emotional weight of thousands of acquaintances, strangers, and algorithmic arguments in our pockets. For someone who already absorbs the emotions of the room, carrying the emotions of the entire internet is a recipe for complete nervous system depletion. You are not just observing the information, your nervous system is simulating it. Psychologists call this specific exhaustion social media fatigue. It is not just boredom or apathy. It is a protective shutdown. It is your brain's way of pulling the emergency brake and saying, I am carrying too much. The constant exposure to idealized images, the pressure to perform the silent comparison, it all demands an enormous amount of emotional energy. You might notice it in the way you dread seeing the red notification badge. You might feel it in the exhaustion of trying to keep up with the group chat where the conversation moves faster than you can meaningfully process. You might find yourself leaving messages unread for days, not because you don't care about the person, but because the mere act of formulating a response feels like climbing a mountain. One of the heaviest burdens of social media is the phenomenon of being constantly perceived. In psychology, there is a concept called the panopticon effect. It is the feeling that you are always visible, always being watched, and therefore you must always be managing your behavior and your image. On social media, you are always on stage. Even if you are just a passive scroller, You are aware of the audience. You are aware of the metrics, the likes, the views, the silent judgments. For introverts who recharge by retreating from the gaze of others, this constant digital visibility is draining. It forces you to perform your life instead of simply living it. When you quit social media, you are stepping off the stage. You are giving yourself the profound luxury of being unperceived. You can eat a meal, watch a sunset, or read a book without the background calculation of how to document it for an audience. There is also the illusion of connection. Social media promises to bring us closer together, but for many sensitive people, it does the exact opposite. It creates a broad, shallow network of passive observation. You know what your high school classmate had for breakfast, but you don't know how they actually feel. This creates a paradox. You are connected to everyone, yet you feel completely alone. Highly sensitive people thrive on deep, authentic, one-on-one connections. We want to know what you are afraid of, what you dream about, what keeps you up at night. Social media replaces these deep bonds with cheap dopamine hits. It replaces the warmth of a real conversation with the cold metric of a double tap. When you step away from the platforms, you realize how much of your social energy was being spent on maintenance rather than true connection. When you quit social media, or even when you just drastically limit your time on it, you are making a radical choice. You are choosing the quiet reality of your own life over the loud performance of everyone else's. You are taking back your cognitive baseline. The people who quit social media often share a specific psychological profile. They are people who value authenticity over visibility. They are people who have recognized that the cost of being perceived online is simply too high a price to pay for their inner peace. They are unwilling to trade their nervous system regulation for algorithmic relevance. If you are thinking about stepping back, you don't need to make a grand announcement. You don't need to post a dramatic departure message, which ironically just invites more engagement and notification anxiety. You can simply quietly reclaim your time. It might be an Irish exit from the digital world. It might look like setting strict limits, such as leaving your phone in another room at night and buying a physical alarm clock. It might mean deleting the apps from your phone entirely and only checking from a computer when you intentionally choose to. Or it might mean walking away for good. You might worry that you will miss out. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, is the main psychological hook that keeps people tethered to platforms that actively make them miserable. You might worry that you will be forgotten, that you will lose touch with the world, that you will become invisible. But what you will actually miss is the anxiety. You will miss the comparison. You will miss the feeling of never quite keeping up the feeling that everyone else is living a brighter, faster, more successful life. What you will find instead is your own mind unclouded by the opinions of 1,000 strangers. You will find that you suddenly have the bandwidth to read a whole book without checking your phone. You will find that you have the patience to sit in silence. You will find that the real connections in your life, the people who text you, who call you, who actually know the sound of your voice, remain exactly where they always were. The people who matter do not need an algorithm to remember that you exist. You are not missing out on life. You are finally opting in. Your peace is worth infinitely more than their metrics, their engagement rates, and their infinite scroll. You are allowed to be quiet in a loud world. You are allowed to be invisible to the crowd. Because in that quiet, away from the glare of the screen and the weight of 1,000 digital eyes, you are finally visible to yourself. You are finally home.